Nick Earnshaw, Francisco Rojas here for this shift. We have a very special guest, Kevin Linton, the public address announcer for the Wilmington Blue Rocks. Kevin, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Nick. Francisco, thanks for having me tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. I mean, what are you talking about with that? What do you mean? No, this is like, come on. We had to do this because you are the man for letting us be here. So we wouldn't be, this wouldn't be possible without you. So, I mean, this is only right.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. I'm looking forward to our interview, and I guess you guys had a great afternoon here at the ballpark.
Oh, incredible. It was fun. It stinks the Blue Rocks couldn't get it done tonight, but it's all right. There's plenty of more baseball left in the season. But going forward, Kevin, I got to talk to you about this. You've been doing this for a very long time, over 20 years. You've been here with the Wilmington Blue Rocks, number of different roles. What's been your favorite part about being with the Blue Rocks? Your favorite day-to-day type thing?
Well, as you touched upon, I work here all the time from morning to the end of the game, but at the end of the day, the games are the best part of being here. Some of the years are better than others, and some games are better than others, but at the end of the day, the excitement and being a part of the game by announcing the games is my favorite part.
I love it. I mean, coming into the stadium, hearing your voice, there's nothing like going to a Blue Rocks game without hearing your voice. I have to ask, so you're a wealth of knowledge about Wilmington Blue Rocks baseball. Going back to its inception. I mean, even before the game, you were telling us factoids we didn't even know about, we didn't even research, and we didn't even know. So it was awesome. Tell me, how many players have made it to the major leagues from the Blue Rocks? Do you know that fact?
That's a good question. We are at, I believe, 217 players.
Holy crap.
We just had one guy debut with the Marlins, Robert Garcia, who then in turn got traded to the Nationals just recently. So ironically enough, but he was with our Kansas City club in 2019. Of course, our very first major leaguer in 1993 was John Lieber, who played for the Phillies for a little bit. Yeah. And we've had a plethora of other names that people would recognize. Some are still pitching. One very popular name still in the league is Zach Greinke. He was here in 2002.
Future Hall of Famer.
03, definitely. An awesome pitcher when he was here, and he's lasted the test of time. So, but we've had other guys: Carlos Beltran, Johnny Damon, Mike Sweeney, who's an all-around great guy, and we had 2 years with the Red Sox, so we had a couple guys from there. So we've really prospered with the names that we've had come through here, and most have been really good to us over the years.
Do you have any relationships with these guys still? You mentioned Mike Sweeney.
Mike Sweeney is always available for a phone call or a text for us. He loved it here in Wilmington.
Cool.
As you know, he played for the Phillies for a little bit.
Short time.
And you're right.
His only playoff at-bat was Game 2 of the Divisional Series against the Reds in 2010, and he got a base hit. So he retired 1 for 1 in the playoffs as a major leaguer. But spent most of his time with the Royals and came back here afterwards and worked for the Royals in player development and really contributed to us and loves Wilmington. And we retired his number when he wore it here, number 33. So
that is fantastic. And just talking to you, you just know your stuff about the Wilmington Blue Rocks. It's great to hear. I have to ask though, going back, what made you get into public address announcing? What made you get into baseball?
Well, all right. So the true story is when I was a kid, I went to a Phillies game for my 9th birthday, and I heard the tones of Dan Baker, who I didn't know at the time. I didn't know his name even. I was like, that is so awesome. I kind of think I want to do that. So over the years, I accumulated some opportunities. I went to high school, and they put me behind the mic, basically, and said, go ahead and have fun with it. So I did. College, I picked up a baseball gig at UD, did a year of public address there, and next thing you know, it steamrolled into basketball there, football there, and then baseball here when the legend we had here, John McAdams, who did Big 5 at the Palestra, he passed away, and I just took over right as soon as he was gone. So, and I've been in here ever since. So,
I have to ask, who's the hardest name you've had to announce for a Blue Rock game?
Ooh, that's tough. That is tough.
Did Jared Saltalamacchia play here? don't think he has a hard name. It's just
I
a
don't think
long
he
name.
does.
He didn't play here, but he played against us.
Yeah,
So we've had a couple guys that played against us. I can't remember off the top of my head who was the toughest name to say. The key in public address is you say the names to whoever's giving you the names, and you write it the way you're going to say it. So it's never tough. I did an exhibition game with Delaware basketball once, and they played like the Slovenian team, I think it was, all-star team. And there you got people with 3-4 consonants in a row. And people are like, how did you say those names? I just simply go over the names and say it like you hear it.
Like you would.
Yeah. And it's easy. And then you just roll with it after that.
I can't tell you how many times, Francisco, when I called games for the Blue Rocks, I went into your office and was like, hey, how do you say this name? Like, went right next door. I'm like, how do you say this name? How do you get in that? And you gave it to me right away, because I would sometimes butcher a name on air at times. So sometimes those were some tough names.
What was your toughest name to say here?
Oh, God, I don't even know.
Because you'll probably jog my memory.
The toughest name I've probably had to go through, it was probably an away team, to be honest. I think a lot of the Blue Rocks I was able to get, but there was a couple names from, like, I think there was one on, I think, Brooklyn last year.
Yeah.
That was a tough name. I can't remember what his exact name was, but
Brooklyn has a team, huh?
Yeah, Brooklyn Cyclones.
Cyclones.
Yeah.
I like that name.
So with the change to the Blue Rocks, like with change in minor league baseball, for you, do you think the game's in a good spot with like the pitch clock, et cetera? Where do you think the game's at? Do you think it's going in the right direction?
Well, I love the pitch clock personally, because I'm working the games. And they tend to be long if people can step out and swing and adjust their gloves, but pitch clocks made things a lot bearable. Where tonight's game was 2 hours, 26 minutes, and that's the average, I think, mostly now in minor league baseball. Major league baseball's trimmed down too.
It's close to that.
Yeah.
It's close to 2.5 hours.
Yeah. It's much more bearable for people to, if you're at the game and it's a one-off, it's different. It's when you're watching it on TV and things like that.
Right.
You don't have as much time to just.
Well, Nick doesn't have his time to get his snacks.
Yeah, that's
what he's complaining about.
Yeah.
It's a running
Can't get his
joke.
gushers, can't get his soft pretzels, his hard pretzels, whatever you want to call them. So that's a Nick problem. But so are you a Major League fan at all?
I do I've always grown up as a Major League fan. I don't have a Major League team that I necessarily root for. Ironically enough, the first World Series I remember the winner of was the Royals. And
85?
I came here and worked for them. Of course, being in the region, Phillies and Orioles, I've gone to their games. So, and of course the Nationals, now that we're a Nationals affiliate. But so I'm a fan of the league, and now at this point, when I'm working in the league, working in baseball for so long, I know people with almost every organization somewhere, so it's hard to root against people.
Who was your favorite player growing up?
Cal Ripken.
Okay. Who's your favorite player right now?
Ooh, it's tough to say. So I root for a lot of the guys that played here. So one name that comes to mind, Whit Merrifield. He's still hanging around.
Good. Former batting title champ.
Yeah.
With the Royals.
He had two years in a row where he led the American League in hits, and some of the guys we had are just overall really good people, and I've enjoyed working with them. And I was in charge of community relations for 10 plus years, so I got the opportunity to really get to know those guys. We went to hospitals together for visitations and camps. We worked, so I got to know a lot of the great guys out there, and built relationships with them. So it's easy to root for those guys and see them more as just a player and the overall person that they are.
Yeah, most definitely. And I want to talk about just the history of the Blue Rocks a little bit more. If there was a moment or a team that you could go back and say that was probably my favorite year, my favorite team, favorite moment, what would it be?
Okay, so the memorable moment, so the first year I was back with the Blue Rocks out of college was 2001. A lot of things happened. We had a great manager who's ironically working for the Nationals now, Jeff Garber. Yeah. But the players were great. I liked working with them, and we went to the championship series. Yep. Thought we had it won with there was a kid named Jimmy Gobble who pitched in basically his hometown in Virginia, but we lost to the Rockies affiliate, Salem. That was September 10th of 2001, and on our ride home the next day, the world changed. So that season will always be memorable. Not only was it my first year back, but then it concluded with 9/11, and we had players going to the airport that had to come back and get picked up. So that one, and then 2019 was very memorable when we won the championship.
Really good team. Right before I got here.
We had a bunch of major leaguers that are with the Royals now. Brady Singer and Chris Bubich is on that team, and MJ Melendez and a couple others that Nick Prado's been up and down. So we've had a lot of success with that group. One group that I really had a lot of fun with, though, was the 2006 Blue Rocks, who were the last year of the Red Sox. We had a great time. Wow. We had Jacoby Ellsbury on the team. We won the first half on Father's Day with a 35-35 record, and we did it in the dumbest fashion. We walked the bases. With the bases loaded, we tied the game with a walk, and then the pitcher, the very next pitch, hit the batter, and we won this. And we won the first half. So, and we partied. And it was great. It was a great team, and a lot of the pitching coach for the Cubs currently, Tommy Hanavy. After that, we celebrated. We had a pitcher's BP, and he won the pitcher's BP. So I'll always remember Tommy Hanavy too. So one of the guys on that team is a manager in our league. We still haven't seen Greenville yet, but he manages Greenville, Iggy Suarez.
So would you ever do a major league PA?
I'd love to. The opportunity would have to be right. I'd have to be there. I'd have to have probably a job with the team, so I work for the Blue Rocks all the time.
Right.
So things would have to change in that case. But I would very much entertain an opportunity, no matter where it might be.
Have you ever gotten a chance to speak to Dan Baker on occasion and pick his brain ever?
Yes. So good thing you brought up Dan Baker. So since that time in 1986 was the game I heard. I've developed a great relationship with Dan Baker.
Right.
Knew him when I worked for Delaware's baseball team. He did the Liberty Bell tournament there and got to know him there. And I think I got put on the map in his eyes when we hosted at University of Delaware the America East tournament. And he was play-by-play for Drexel back then. And he said, you should come over to the hospitality room and take a bow for the great job you did. So that meant a lot. And he's given me feedback throughout the years and has helped me along the way. And that's Dan Baker. He helps everybody pretty much who asks. And he's always got time for people. I just spoke to somebody the other day who said the exact same thing. So I know Dan is battling some things personal health-wise, but an incredible human being. The Philadelphia Sports Writers just honored him in January as their Man of the Year. A great human being and top-of-the-line professional. He's the dean of... He's the dean of PA announcers now because he's the longest tenured. He's over 50 years. So,
do you think you're going to do 50 years?
My heart is in it, but hopefully my heart is still beating to make me 50 years somewhere anyway.
I love it.
But we all have pride in everything we do, so we never want to miss any game. So,
all right, if you want to do this, I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable. Only if you want to do this. But can you give me 3 of your favorite baseball moments, and you got to do it in your play-by-play voice? Can you do that?
Oh, man.
This is the Cal Ripken moment.
Put him on the spot.
What year did Cal Ripken break the Iron Man?
He actually...
He hit the home run that game, too.
Yeah. The day he broke the record was September 6th of 1995. They stopped the game in the middle of the 5th inning, I remember, because the game went official. And he did come out here. So he retired in 2001. And he was still on top. People knew who he was. So in 2002, I actually got to meet him and introduce him here. Wow. So I said, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the field, the Iron Man, Cal Ripken. So
that is great.
That's great.
That was great.
Heck yeah.
That is awesome. Well, I have to ask, the current team, where the Blue Rocks are at right now, you've had some really good players come up through the system. Just some of the more modern players, who's kind of been someone that stood out to you?
Well, there have been a lot. Over the years, it's been tough. I know, some of the guys are highly touted, like Brady Singer, for example.
Right.
He came in here highly touted. And for those who don't know, he gained a lot of notoriety because he paid off his parents' mortgage when he got drafted. Wow. He paid it off, and it was a heartfelt story. And so we knew who he was coming in. But that year was loaded with pitchers. Mm-hmm. But Zach Greinke was one that came in here as a 19-year-old kid, threw just a couple innings in the last game of the year in 2002, started here and just was phenomenal in 2003, and never knew he was going to be a Cy Young winner, but he totally, and 20 years later is still in the league. So he's one guy that I've got to see.
Yeah, back with the Royals. Yeah, exactly.
And it's tough to say. So there were some guys they highly touted, like Eric Hosmer when he came here in 2009.
Right.
Mike Moustakas was big on their list. There were a lot of pitchers. So 2009 was supposed to be our year, and then we fell in the playoffs.
Right.
But that's the team that basically went out on to Kansas City with some extra pieces and won the American League 2 years in a row in the World Series in 15. So
yeah, I love it. All right, Kevin, just one last question for you. What was the best advice you received throughout your career?
Ooh. So one thing came from Dan Baker. Mm-hmm. He's always said, never turn down any work if you can help it. So that's why I work everywhere tirelessly, and that's his philosophy too. Of course, my parents have always been encouraging of me to do my best, but Dan Baker's been instrumental, and I've had some helpers along the way. There's a guy who's he's now the SID at a school called Tusculum in Tennessee. His name's Jim Miller. He was big in teaching me in high school, like the basics, and then Dan helped me get to the next level a little bit. But I've had a lot of help along the way. Our baseball coach, Bill Sassman, was here last night from high school, and he put me in that position in high school to announce. So biggest pieces of advice that I would give somebody, I'll tell you this, is make sure as a PA announcer you get the names.
Right.
Find someone and don't let it go. Like if you're doing the players, you find someone who's official and get the names. That way you can say, well, that's how they gave it to me. And you write it out how you would say it, but you make sure you confirm, because it looks bad on you as a professional if you don't.
Right.
So that's one thing that I always, in this specific position, that's one thing I always take pride in.
Right. Kevin, thank you so much for joining Francisco and I. We had an absolute blast tonight here at Daniel S. Frawley Stadium. We'll talk to you next time here on The Shift. Thank you so much to Kevin Linton, PA announcer here for the Blue Rocks, and we'll talk to you next time. See ya.